right, let's do it. Alright, good afternoon, my friends. Welcome to AfterCut, a series about post-processing and processing post. My name is Eric Hackler. I am a photographer, writer, cinematographer, editor, director, and all-around just creative, and today we are going to be doing some photography together, or photo editing together. As always, this is as open a forum as possible. I want this to be able to be as much my platform as yours, so if you have questions, if you have comments, if you have thoughts about the photo that I'm editing, please, or about anything that I'm doing, please feel free to drop your comments or questions in the chat. Additionally, if you are a content creator, if you are making, if you spend part of your day creating photos, writing stories, doing art of any kind, and you would like to share that, please, by all means, feel free to drop that either in the chat, or if you're watching on YouTube, drop it in the comments, so that we can all admire the work that you do. I do this for a couple of reasons. One is that I feel like the editing process and post-production in general of both film and photography is woefully under-discussed and underdeveloped, and it's a hugely, hugely, hugely important part of creating art in the digital world. So I try to do this as a way to shed light on the process. Because there is so much that goes into it, and it's so important to it, and often gets overshadowed. And secondly, the other reason I do this is because I feel like a lot of times editing, especially photo editing, if it gets talked about, is usually hidden behind a paywall. And and I would like to try to make this open and available. So what you're watching is not super polished. There's going to be mistakes. I'm going to try things that don't work. We're going to shift. We're going to adjust. But it's the process that I want to share with you, and I want to hopefully throughout the course of whatever craziness I get up to, hopefully spark something in you. So that's why we're here. That's what we're gonna do. Let's go ahead and jump in with, let's see, I guess at the right button. It's that one. There we go. Cool. So we're starting with the Milky Way, which is a cool thing to get to say. Hey, Stephanie and Evelyn, glad you're here. Maria Lisa says hi. She's in the other room. Also, you might notice a different background. I haven't been streaming for a bit because I moved. So we have a new location. Still got a ton of boxes and mess that we're cleaning up. But hopefully, over the next few weeks, you'll see this space develop into something a little more put together, a little more stylish. And yeah, we'll see where it goes. But anyway. Yeah, let's go ahead and get started with the Milky Way shot. Actually, this is a shot Stephanie was with me for. This is up in Shenandoah National Park on Saturday night, so early Sunday morning. And this was during the Perseid meteor shower, kind of right before cloud cover came in. If I go back to some of the earlier photos I got of the Milky Way, like, let's see, this one. Let's see if one of these has actually got a meteor in it. That's a big difference. That doesn't count. Okay, so here's a shot I took of the Milky Way, kind of looking straight up at it, because obviously the Milky Way arcs over the. Obviously, I don't know how many people know that. Yeah, the Milky Way is a big. Isn't just the one bit that we all see in photos looks like this, and we all know this area of it. But yeah, the Milky Way is is much longer than that, and so usually if you can see it, you can see the kind of bottom part. If you look up, you can see more of it. It's a very, very long galaxy. But yeah, so we had a couple shots where we had some meteors. Here's one. This is during the Perseid meteor shower. Here's one of the meteors coming in. This down here is not a meteor. That's a plane. We can talk about that later. But yeah, so we were up there for the Perseid meteor shower and decided to grab some shots of the Milky Way while we were there. And this is the one that I decided to start with. So, here's what we're gonna do. Let's see. Now this is. Let me reset this because I want us to get this right from the beginning. Cool. So totally reset. Let's play. All right. So my first thing is always to crop. That's not always to crop. I don't know if I really want to. Honestly, I kind of like. I want to clean up the bottom a little bit. Like I might pull this in just to get rid of those bright lights. There we go. This photo kind of deserves some height to it, but I think if I do it like that and I leave it kind of centered. Again, I don't have the grid up because I want to build. I want to crop based on the photo, not based on rules. But I kind of like the. I think like with this little centered, adjusting slider here over the trees. I think that's a good crop. Cool. Looks good. Almost definitely gonna do a mask for the bottom here that I can play with the color on, but I might change that. That might get fixed. Everything else. All right. Let's see. I do want to do a mask of the sky. I want to see if I can get that just as a, just to have. I don't know if I want to edit that separately or not. We will see. But super easy in this case. Mask of the sky. And then here we go. We're back at take a shot. I'm saying duplicate and invert. Awesome. I want to see if it can select the subject. I want to see if it can actually, what it'll find is the subject in this. Couldn't find one. Yep, because this is a photo. This is because the subject selector is designed for people or for animals, and this doesn't have those. So, all right. I'm gonna pull this up just a tiny bit. Just because there was that one little light down there. There we go. That puts the trees right. But I don't know, actually. Hang on. Is it better with that? I think it's better with that. I'm going to try to clear that out another way, which I think I can do. If I go to the healing brush, go to this guy, bring that down a lot. That doesn't need to be nearly that big. We're just going to select that area, see if I can get that to touch it up. Yeah, looks fine. There we go. All right. So, let's start with editing the sky. Let's start here. So my usual place to start is, clarity, and clarity is certainly a move to make on this one because that's really going to pull the Milky Way out of it. Dehaze is good. I don't know if I want to go all the way with it, but I like it. So, by dehaze by itself, I think clarity is the one I want to push there. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the clarity. I'm going to put the clarity like 60 right now. How am I going to do this? Let me do one more thing. Let me create a brush mask here. Settings are all good. So we're going to create a brush, and we're going to select, hey, Shelby Lynn. Notice, actually, don't believe this is a brush. I'm going to say is a radial. Let's start with this. Selecting just the Milky Way itself. I'm always wondering what the best way to do this. Let's get rid of that mask. I haven't done a lot of Milky Way editing, so it's a fun learning opportunity for me. All right, so let's start with that. That's good. I like how that's looking. Dehazing, I think I'm going to dehaze the whole photo. I don't think I just want to dehaze the sky. Texture, if I bring the texture up, that pulls out the stars, which is great. Put it down a little bit. Let's also denoise it, because that will help clean up some of the noise in this. To do photography like this, there's a couple different ways you do it. But the main way is to crank your ISO up. This is zoomed into 100%. Let's go to 50. Just to crank your ISO up to about 3200. So, and that doesn't matter as much because usually when you add noise, when you crank the ISO, you add noise and grain to your photo. But and that usually gives you a lot of little extra grittiness in the light. But because of Milky Way photography or star photography, because a lot of that we already have in the case of like all the bright lights of the stars, so doesn't matter that much if you have a little bit of noise in the photo. That's fine. This little bright spot up here is a cloud. That's okay. We're gonna play with that a little bit. Okay, cool. So that's, as a starting point, looks really good. Let me put that on vibrate. There we go. So as a starting point, that looks really good. Let's work on the ground. Still gonna play with color a little bit, but I want to work on the ground for now. You can update that. Here's an update. Let's see. I don't think the sky changed that much. Alright. You also want to update. Okay, go for it. There we go. Problem solved. Okay, so let's work on the ground here. Let's see, for starters, I know it's too... I want to change the color. I want to push it a little more toward there and away from that. I want to create something that looks like it exists within the world of the photo. That doesn't look too bad. I can live with that, being a little more green. I push toward blue a bit. No, yeah, let's leave that as is. Okay, cool. So we're gonna stick with it like that. Shelby, then I love being able to share the stars with you. Let's see. Highlights. Yeah, let's bring the highlights up. I like having them brighter. Let's bring the shadows up a bit. Let me zoom in on this. Kind of work on it down here. There we go. Even 30% is probably just about right. Okay, cool. So, the highlights back for now. Actually, yeah, a little bit of highlights, a little bit of shadows. That sounds good. We're gonna desaturate a bit because I don't want too much color blending in. This photo is kind of monochromatic in that like blue is certainly the dominant color, but everything else I want to kind of just be varying shades of bluish. So, let's see, clarity. That one I want to zoom out to see. I don't think so. I think clarity is the wrong move here. Texture? Texture's a good move. Texture's definitely a good move. And I think dehaze is going to be a good move because it's going to darken. It's going to give us a little more of that contrast in a really sharp way. That looks pretty great. Let me do a... Let's see. I want to duplicate... Not duplicate and invert. Just duplicate this mask. Which will create a second thing that will have all the same effects. I'm going to reset this. I don't want to... I'm just making one change here. There we go. And then I'm going to do... I'm going to adjust the color. Touch more toward blue. And I'll show you why. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm then going to take... I'm going to subtract with a brush. Just, nope. Subtract with a brush. You see the overlay? Good. I'm going to subtract the middle. I'm going to turn the overlay off. Cool. And now, if I zoom in here, because what's up is, you can see like how in the center here that has now been subtracted. If I turn this mask off, you're not seeing it. It doesn't change anything. This area here is a little bluer. This area here is a little bit greener, and I want to clean that up. So, on this mask, which I'm going to turn back on and keep subtracting from, let's go ahead and bring my density down to about 46%, and we're going to erase some of that. There we go. You see the overlay. Yeah, let's bring that back up and just erase like this. See how bad that looked. Not bad. Bad's the wrong word. Undo. Okay, let's be more specific with this. So, let's erase this area here. Just like that. Let's come on over here. This is actually similar. Which one's the same thing on to the grass over here. Good. And then come back over to here. Drop my density down a bit, make my brush a little smaller, and just sort of clean that area up. Good. So now, yeah, we've got a couple of sections here. Let's put that back up and get rid of this middle bit. Good. So now that area I can take and I can push toward blue. I can push toward purple to kind of get rid. Yeah, there we go. Push toward purple to kind of get rid of that green. Finding that balance. That's actually looking like it's decently in line. Not quite enough. Let's go all the way to purple. It doesn't look bad on the trees over here. It looks a little bit. Reset that. Now what I'm looking at this area right here and trying to make this area match it. So I'm trying to find that right balance of blue and green. Brighten it up a little bit. Desaturating. That looks it. Okay, cool. That's looking decent. Let's work a little more on some of these spots. Subtract that. Do the overlay. And brush. My density set to not that much. Back in, I'm going to brush this right in there. Too much. Let's set the density down. 39%. Nope, don't want to move it, just want to adjust it. Yep, still too much, just bring it down. 20%. It's starting to blend better, there we go. That's looking better. Let's come over here, just check on this one. There we go, I'll add some over here. Middle there, add that in. It's looking better. Let's go to my subtract brush. Crank this all the way up because I got one spot where I don't want it. Don't want it on the tree here. Get rid of that. A little bit of this in the sky here. We can get rid of that as well. There we go. Tree need it. That's fine. Cool. Over here. There's a little bit in the sky there. Let's clean that up. Excellent. Cool. All right, back to the edit. That's looking pretty great. All right, let's play with this some more. Said I was gonna dehaze. Let's dehaze a bit from here, because I think that will help pull everything out, which does look good. A little bit of extra sharpness in there, nothing wrong with that. Let's see. Back to that brush. I think I'll come down here, grab this brush. Set this at like 40% and paint this in so it matches the other side. Just want to brighten this area up a little bit. Just like that. To the overlay. Make sure I didn't miss a spot. I did. I usually do. There we go. We check comparatively. Yeah, that looks better. Looks like they're a little more balanced with the. I don't want it to be perfectly balanced, I don't think, but I want a little more balance. Seems like a good idea. All right. The other thing I can do is bring the blacks down a touch, which will give us a little more darkness there, which would be nice. Cool. Let's come back to the main photo itself. Bring the blacks down a little bit. Again, giving that a little bit of extra detail, but actually I don't want to do that. I want to keep the brightness. I like the brightness that's there. Let's go back to adjusting our sky, just to play with some highlights and stuff. I'll bring the highlights up. Yep, that helps us see the Milky Way a little better, so we're gonna bring those up. Shadows, I could go really high on them. Honestly, I don't hate that, but I think I like we've been kind of cultivating a bit of a darker look, so let's stick with that for now. Whites, again, gonna brighten up certain areas a little bit more than I want to. We're gonna leave that as is, kind of like that. And the blacks, again, yeah, I think having some nice darkness in this makes the stars pop more and gives kind of a, I don't know, to me it gives it a more magical look to it. I don't know, I connect with it more. I really like that. Let's come back down to our trees here. I want to darken them up a little bit. Let's bring in the whites down just a touch. Yeah, just a bit, just because I want the brightest stuff in the photo to be this. So, hey Ellie, thank you. It does. I really like that about it. Let's see. Next thing I want to do. I'm playing with the idea. There's a bunch of things I can do with color. A black and white version of this seems like a good idea once we get done with it. I also want to experiment with leaning into some of the other colors. If I push it a little more toward, push it a little more away from the blues, and we end up with a bit more of a, yeah, the orange is a bit much, but we get a little more of a detailed sky in there, which I kind of like. That's tempting. Tempted to push it toward, let's see, if I go toward green or purple, those are going to be really big swings. So we'd have to adjust that a little bit. I think because I've dehazed things, and dehaze tends to make colors pop a little more. You know, I'm sticking with the blue. I'm sticking with the blue or a black and white, and that's all I'm going to do with this one. This one looks really good as is. Let's come down and play with color. I don't know if I'm going to do much with the color sliders. Just want to see what they do. Blue isn't bad. Blue kind of, like, there's a gentleness to the blues in this right now, and I don't want to go too hard with them. Let me up them a little bit. Aquas are darkening up this, are giving us a little more in the sky down there. I think I like that. If I take them out, it brightens it. On the fence. Let's leave them alone. Greens, not really in play. Oranges, also not really in play. Or yellows. Oranges, really nothing. No oranges at all. I figured there was something in the clouds down there, but no. All right. Let's see. Magenta. No, this photo is pretty much all blue and aqua, and mostly blue. Okay, there's a little bit of purple down there with the lighting. We're gonna crank that up and let that be a little bluer. Not as much. Let's see. Now I'm gonna leave that alone and do that with luminance, which is down here. I bring the purples down or up. Let's look at the whole photo. Yeah, like that. I think bringing the purples down helps. Again, we can brighten the blues, we can darken them. I don't think I want to do either of that. I think that's fine. Aquas, I can brighten or darken. Doesn't really do much. Adds a little bit of brightness to the bottom, but the one spot that doesn't need it, I'm going to bring that down actually. Let's see. Bring the blues up a little bit more. I'm really liking this like deep sort of royal blue we're kind of getting in here. It's making me very happy. All right. Last thing I want to do is one more bit of masking. I'm going to do this with a radial gradient, as a start at least. Let's get a long, thin one here. Let's rotate that. Okay, I want to see this on color. I want to bring the feathering down just for now so that I can really get the edges of this thing right. So let's see, where's the edge of the Milky Way? Right about there. Let's rotate a touch more, just like that. Let's widen a bit and feather it up. Let's feather at 50%. Good. And now we're going to come back to this, come back to that mask. We're going to add another radial gradient. The Milky Way is not just a straight oval, it's a little bit wonkier than that, and so we're gonna create a second one to give us that. There we go. So now we have a brush that is almost specifically the Milky Way, and this is where I can up my texture, round up my clarity more. I could, it's not really gonna make too much of a difference. Dehazing, definitely not a difference. I go back with the dehazing, that make that look weird. Let's put that away. Cool. Gives us a little more detail in that, and I like that. Let's see what else I want to do with this. Let's do my usual duplicate and invert. Everybody take a shot. And then we're going to subtract the sky, which might seem counterintuitive. Then we're going to go to the sky selection, and we're going to invert it, and that selects, and that now subtracts the ground. Let's see, I'm taking my radial gradients here. I'm going to reduce the feathering a bit, down to about 25%. Same with this one here. 25%. Good, so that widens it up a little bit. And now I can bring the texture down a little bit on them. Bring the clarity down too if I really wanted to, but I don't. Bring the clarity up too. That adds a bit of interesting depth to it. Actually, I really like that. Cool. Yeah, I like that. If I turn this mask off, turn both these masks off. And yeah, makes the Milky Way itself stand out a little more. And that looks good. I'm happy with that. Let's take a look at it in black and white. Also looks great. Looks great in a slightly different way. We're going to have to do some color work on that one. But let's go ahead and do my usual 3 stars on that, and then create a virtual copy, which if you're watching at home is Control or Command apostrophe. We'll make it black and white. We'll come down here to color. We'll push the blues up a bit. Bring the aquas up or down. I think down in this case. I think the aquas are not helping us here. Greens, a little bit of green in the sky. Let's bring that up. Oranges, still nada. Purples, again, down at the ground level. Let's go ahead and bring those up a bit. Or bring them down. You know what, let's bring them down. I think having them down in this case is better. And then, yeah, that's not doing us anything. All right. One other thing I would like to do is, in this case I want to add a new mask. A linear gradient. We're going to start kind of where the sky gets really dark. Flip that over. Back like this. Push that up, kind of like that. And if I bring the shadows up, that makes a very nice difference. Desaturates a little, or lowers the contrast a little bit, which I can then push back up just a touch. But brightens that upper. I think I might do this with the color one as well. That brightens that upper area nicely and really kind of lets the stuff up here shine. Cool. All right, so there's the black and white one. Absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Let me bring the denoise this a little bit more. Let's smooth out the section up there a little bit, kind of like that. Great. And then let's see. Next, let's come back to this one. I think I want to add that same linear gradient. So I could do it by syncing, but it's going to be a specific adjustment on here. I want this to have a smooth kind of grade, up to about like that. And all we did was bring the shadows up, so let's go ahead and do that a little bit. There we go. Wow, the difference that makes. I did not expect it to make that big of a difference in the color one, but it does. Wow, cool. All right, let's do that. We also denoised a bit. Let's turn that up. And we upped the contrast a little just to keep some of that in there. You don't want to lose too much. When you brighten, you often lose saturation. When you darken, you often gain it. So we want to strike that balance where we still have the color still plays. And if I take this off, yeah, that makes a very nice difference to me in terms of seeing kind of a little more into the Milky Way itself. But I'm going to bring the contrast up a little more. Cool. Back to this one. I want to do anything else. I feel like there's something else I wanted to do with this, but I'm really happy. Especially looking at the thumbnail of it. The bigger photo, I think you see this better when it's not, like when I'm not dialing in to like check every detail. Like Milky Way shots tend to be looking at the whole picture, which is just great. All right, let's come down here to our denoise and detail sliders. I want to check on we're going to zoom into 100%. I want to check my noise. My noise isn't that bad. By the way, if you're wondering why the stars here look like little streaks, the reason for that is because this is a 30-second exposure. Or 60-second exposure. Sorry, this is a minute long. Which is why it's not that noisy. I'm realizing it's not that noisy because it is at 1600, not 32. But, yeah, so this is I'll zoom in here. I'm going to get a little bit more noise. So yeah, so this is a minute-long exposure, and so when you do this is kind of the danger of doing and like kind of the balance you have to try to strike when you do nighttime and star photography like this is the if you do a longer exposure, which would lets in more light over a longer amount of time, and therefore you can lower your ISO, and you don't get as much noise in the photo. If you do that, if you go with a longer exposure, the Earth has more time to rotate, and so the stars won't be perfect little specks. They're going to end up being slightly streaky. From here, doesn't really matter when you look at it like this, but if you're zooming in and you want those perfect pinpoints, you want to go with a shorter shutter speed. But that means you need to bring up your ISO, and then you deal with noise. So looking at the noise down here, I'm going to take my luminance and bring that up a little bit, which should help smooth that over. I often found that you bring up the luminance too much with Milky Way shots tended to really devalue, though that doesn't look bad. That's cool in a different way. Of course, that makes everything blobby, so let's not do that. Let's keep it at like 30%, which lets it be a little noisy, but you still have the... Actually, I'm taking it to 50. Let's take it to 50%. Let's be a little bit, not unsharp, but a little bit blobby like that. But at the same time, you still get the overall shape. Still looks great. Let's see. Let's adjust our detail. Detail up, detail down. It's kind of your middle ground. Leave that as is. Actually, let's bring that all the way down. Or, no. Bring it all the way up. Let's see if that gets too noisy to look at. It does look noisy. But if I take the luminance all the way off, it looks like without that, it's look worse. It does look worse. Okay, so let's undo that. Let's bring our detail up a little bit, so we do keep some of the detail in the stars there. Huh. And again, the stars are now distracting me from the Milky Way, so let's bring the stars down. Yeah, that's better. That is better. It's weird to say that like too much. You can have too much detail in a shot like this, but you can. If I bring the contrast up, what do I get? Okay, it's adding a little more noise, which I don't want. So take that down. Okay, that looks genuinely beautiful. I'm really happy with that one. Let's look at let's do the same thing to the other one. We had the luminance up at about 50%. Does take away a little from the photo. It really does. Yeah. Do I want this? I think I'm gonna live with the photo being noisy. I think that's fun. For this case, I think that's fine. Also, shooting at 1600 is, at least for my camera, kind of right on the edge of okay. So, and also this is a shot that is. It's a Milky Way shot. You're meant to see it from, you shouldn't be getting, super in with it and staring at it really in the details. This is like in portraits, a lot of the times, if you've got noise, the thing is, noise is created when the camera doesn't have enough light to accurately expose what it's exposing. And so a lot of the times, let me see if I have a shot like this. Okay, so this shot here. Which I don't think I'm going to do much with, but if I look at this shot, this is at ISO 1000. If I zoom in, there's a little bit of noise, but there's not really noise in the brighter areas. Like the bright spots down here don't really have much. There's less of it. There's inherently some because you're still using ISO in general. These dark patches definitely don't have it because they're fine. But if I was if I'm looking at this photo, this is not a photo I'm super aesthetically happy with, but it's a good example for here. If I'm looking at this photo and I'm admiring, and my subject would be these bright lights in the sky, kind of in the center there. This area being dark is fine. I'm not zooming in on the dark area or on the this corner of the sky to be like, what's going on in there. What I want is the section that I'm trying to look at. My subject being bright or being visible and not super grainy, and that is more or less true in this photo. Again, not the best example. If my subject was the field of flowers down here, and I decided to crank that up and bring up the blacks so that we could see them, now the subject I'm looking at is noisier, and that's kind of the thing you want to avoid with with adjusting your ISO. You can turn it up as long as the thing that you are looking at doesn't lose its detail. And in this case, it doesn't. Like, we can zoom in all the way, and you're going to see a little bit of noise. But in this case, seeing just the Milky Way as it is in that's what, that as it is this way, you can see it, and the detail you see is the stars. That's great. We look at the before and after. Amazing. So that's that's a Milky Way shot. There's one more here that I wanted to do because I kept trying to get this shot, and I think I finally did. So one thing I think is always important when you go to take photos is to warm up. Do the things before the thing that you want to see happens. Assuming you're not assuming you don't show up and immediately immediately a bear shows up and you're like, oh, get pictures of that. It's always good to warm up and to try to find things that are interesting to take pictures of and to look at. So, one thing I found while we're hanging out there at sunset, and we've got this gorgeous sky looking over the Blue Ridge. Let me put this back to 33%. That's good. That's an experiment I should have done. That's something I need to check on. I saw this tree here, and I really liked this tree as a subject, and I love the Blue Ridge and the line and the clouds back there. I thought that was great. That would make for a really cool aesthetic shot, but people in the way. So I stood there snapping photos until I could get a shot like this, which is actually pretty cool. I've got some more down here that I'm going to check through. So actually what I'm going to do right now is just throw 1 star on this. That's one to look at. I think that one's in the way. That one's a maybe. Also gets 1 star. Let's jump over here. Keep looking. I think eventually I do get what I'm waiting for. That's a possible. Also a possible. That is actually a really better option. So I have to set that to 0. Nope, guy in the way. I say guy in the way. It's a park ranger doing his job and being. All the rangers there were absolutely wonderful about helping people find parking and telling people what was going on and checking in with people. So, in no way do I want to diminish the rangers. Okay, so here are the shots. Let's take a look at starting with this first one. I think the second one actually. I think this might be the one. Maybe. Let me wait for the first one. So my goal here is to crop out the people, and that's that guy's head is even with the tree. So no. That one gets undone and loses its rating. Sorry, photo, you tried. Take a look at this one. This one, I think, I can certainly crop up to the tree. Next question is, can I get... Then I gotta deal with this dude's head, which I don't really want to do. I can crop this one in a bit. Crop this in. Actually, that is pretty even like that. So that's fine. And that dude's head. We might come back to this one. This one's going to keep its rating. Let's look at this one here. Now we're going to be cropping in more, but that's okay because modern cameras are great. Let's come into that. Let's come in that far. Let's come into there so I can get that tree. I want to center that tree. I'd have to come to there and then center it like that. This isn't going to work exactly the way I want it to because I would like a little bit of everything. Make a very interesting, totally vertical shot, which is kind of cool. Let's keep that one for now. I'm gonna start having to post these on Vero because Vero doesn't have restrictions on cropping, and you can post shots like this. This one's not bad. Just this one person's head to sort of worry about. Let's go up to here, and then widen this out as far as I can. That we can go up a little bit more. That one might be the one. It's very, very close. So that one looks good. Let's check on this one. And of course, the fun thing is, as I'm shooting all these, I am losing light. So each of these is going to require slightly different editing. This might be the perfect one. I think I finally got everybody out of my shot. Like that. Yeah, that one. I think that might be the one. Cool. Let's see, were there any others that I marked as... I marked one more as workable here. Let's take a look at it. Same deal. Bring the crop up as high as I can. As low as I can, technically. Bring it over. Oh, there's a guy over there, so we gotta bring it to here, and then bring it back over here to center. Okay. Also good. So I'm gonna give these all 2 stars now. We'll take a look at them. Nope, don't want to add to the collection. That's fine. It's 2 stars. We're gonna sort everything here by. Yeah, I do too. I love that the super tall, super narrow one is something I think is very cool. It's not something that I can very easily share, unfortunately. So it's a thing that I need to adjust, but I do like it as a concept. Okay, so that one, this one. I think it's this one. I think this is the one to work with. I might bring that crop in a little bit more. I mean, we are centered, but I also kind of like having a little bit more. I don't know. I like having a bit more of that tree. And being symmetrical is nice. All right, so that'll be the photo we work with. So these are all getting their ratings set back down to 1 star. And we've got our one to work with. Let's turn the rating system off. And let's edit this. Okay, sweet. Once again, I'm going to tweak my crop just a tiny bit. Just to get it. Yeah. I'm wondering, though, if I was to pull this back, push this in a bit. No, that really does feel unbalanced. That feels balanced. Okay, cool. So now, let's play with some adjustments. And this is one I think, ooh, the clarity on those mountains is really nice, but I'm also wondering if this is one to go low clarity on and kind of lean into the sky. I might do that as a separate thing. Dehazing? Oh, look at those colors. Look at that, folks. That's amazing. Texturing? No. Texture, this is, maybe. Hang on, we're fighting a little bit here. Let's start with dehaze. I don't usually start with dehaze, but I think start with dehaze is a really good idea because it's going to bring those colors all out of the place, and that's amazing. Bring our shadows up just a bit, like that, so we don't lose our tree down here. We're going to bring our highlights down because again, it'll make those colors pop really nicely. Bring our blacks up a bit. Actually, I think blacks up a bit's a good idea. Whites, anything I want to do with them? Yeah, leave the whites alone. They have enough trouble as it is. Alright. Texture, leave it alone. And clarity. Nah, let's leave clarity alone. I'm really tempted to bring the clarity down, but I think the best way to do that is to see if I can get the sky selected first. I think that's the better thing to do. So let's try a sky selection. See if that works. Select the sky and see what it gives me. Okay. Not bad. Kind of stops there. That's fine. I'm going to add in a color range. I'm going to select blue. And we're going to zoom in here so I can see. Oh, no, that's. Hang on. Pull this back. I think I can get it off the trees. Like that. That works. Cool. All right. Awesome. So now that mask is. Let's see the overlay. That one section in the middle isn't quite, so let's add a brush. Let's bring our density all the way up and just brush in this middle section here. Oop, hang on a second. That's gonna fight me on getting those trees in there. Okay. What's the best way to do this? Come back to our color range. Bring that back up until we get that section, which we now basically have, but we also have the trees. So let's do a subtract luminance range, and we're going to zoom in and select the tree, which should then subtracted everything. That. Yeah, I think that works. that off. Turn it back on. Cool. Okay. So that just gave us the sky. Now we've got the sky selected. We can go back to here, and we can. That's what. Give our mask. Make those highlights a little bit more if we wanted to. I think I'm gonna crop this down a bit. I don't think these top clouds are doing me any good. I think up to there, or even down to here. That's the better photo. That's the better crop. Okay. Back to masking. First mask. I think the shadows up's not a bad idea. We could push the saturation. I think that loses us some detail. I think I want to leave that alone because I like these extra ridges we see in here, which is wonderful. Let's see. Again, playing with clarity, not loving it. Texture, not really doing a whole lot for me other than just defining stuff. Let's denoise, which is a good idea. Cool. Now we're gonna do my favorite, duplicate and invert. Everybody take a shot. And now we've got the trees down there. Let me do with some track brush real quick. Just sort of clean. Oh man, that's everywhere, isn't it? Okay, undo that. We're going to adjust this a little bit. Yeah, we do it like that. Subtract the brush. Set the density to 50%. Just sort of clean this area up a little bit so we're not affecting too much. That. Zoom in. I may do this as an object selection. That actually might be the way to go. But let's see. If I don't need to, I won't do it. All right. So shadows. Yeah, bringing the highlights down is good. I think this is where I want to bring the texture up. Texture up on those details, I think, is great. Blacks down. Again, they're silhouettes. Shadows down's a little much. There we go. Use that subtract brush with the density all the way up to sort of clean this area out. As gently as possible. You guys can hear the washer absolutely acting like it's ready to take off. Usually it's my computer making that noise. This is an exciting change. I think the washer just apologized. It was you. She apologized. What are you apologizing for? You're not the washer. That's true. Well, we're also dealing with my webcam mic because my main mic isn't set up yet, so. Promise, the sound, the lighting, all this is going to get better over the course of the next few months. Hopefully, next few weeks. We'll see if that works. Let's make some details here. Okay, yeah, I'm going to do this. Not quite branch by branch, but just getting in on these areas here. There we go. I'm feeling the urge to rewatch The Crow, not sure why. Lightroom's gonna work on this for a sec. There we go. Overwhelming a little bit. There we go. Now it's clicking in. Look at that. Definitely looking better. Let's see. Let's clean this area up. Let's clean this area up down here. My computer heard me saying nice things about it, and it decided to show off that it could be a bit obnoxious as well. Doing great, buddy. Alright, let's zoom out. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. I think I want to touch up on a couple of the spots up here in the canopy. Go a little bigger with the brush on that, though. Just to clear around those edges. Down here. And you see that there's still noise in this photo. You see there's still a little bit of grit and grain. And that's okay. This is with ISO 400. So it's not making a... so it's an ISO 400. It's not... you can close that. I'm done with the masking. That looks excellent. I'm going to bring the... I'm going to bring the saturation down. Yeah, I want to bring the saturation down a bit. But then I'm losing some of that blue. I do like the desaturated version. I think there's something really soft and gentle about that I really enjoy. But I also like this as well. Let's come down. Let's play with our color slider. See if we can do this individually. Bring our blues down just a tiny bit. Purples down a little. Magentas a bit. Reds. Yellows. There we go. Something a little gentler like that. I think that looks decent. How does that keep? Yeah, the difference that makes that I do not like. Let's undo it. Do this across the board. There's no reason to do it and not have it be just done with the vibrance or saturation slider. So the vibrance down looks like that. Saturation down looks like that. What's the better way to do this? I'm gonna try something. I want to see if this will make an actual difference here. 33%, please. Thank you. Let's go back to this mask. This is this guy. I want to subtract an object, and I want to select this tree. And that shouldn't be super hard for this thing to grab. Let's do that. See if I can get it to do it that way, because that would be ideal. Stretches there. Yeah, that actually worked really well. Okay, let's do another thing. Let's subtract a second object. See if I can get it to subtract this tree over here. If I can get it to subtract these objects on the sides, that would make all of this super easy. You might lose some of that hazing around them, which is kind of a bugbear on this. Let's see if it does it. If it does, it means we're gonna be waiting here for a little bit while I do this object selection with everything. But if it does work, that'll be awesome. Yeah, looks like it got it. Yeah, that's nice. I'll turn that off. Weird, actually does seem to actually seems worse. Interesting. Alright, we're gonna leave that off for now. I don't think the tree matters on this one. I turn the luminance range off. So stick with that for the moment. All right, we're gonna work on this. basically everything. Then bring that down there. It's probably the experimenting that makes this fun. Let's delete that. Now you want a crazy color version of this one, Shelby? Then that would be fun. I might try that. Okay, I'm gonna go with this. Luminance range on. Yeah, we're gonna go with that. If I turn this object selection on again, it's gonna darken up that one tree. Don't love that. Okay. Let's come over to here. As far as the background, I'm happy with it. Could actually desaturate from here. Oh, I'm adjusting the wrong mask. It's just this one. Yeah, I'm going to desaturate. This is where I should do it from. Something like that. Let's go back to our main one, and okay, we can lift our saturation exactly as is, which is fine. Okay, let's come back to this. Let's come to this mask. Let's turn the overlay on, and then turn a bunch of these off. Best way to do this. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's add objects. Let's get the tree again. A little branch sticking up here. Then we will back to the subtract brush. I'm going to subtract a lot of the little, zoom into 100%. I'm going to subtract a lot of the little details here. Oh, actually, I think I might be able to do this with that color range. Let's bring this back up. Bring the color range back on. Color range. Why aren't you working? %. Color range, subtract that color. Subtract that color. Is this thing doing anything at all? Let's find out. Okay, it does something when the sky is on, but if the sky is not on, it doesn't do anything because it's okay, so it's subtracting from something that doesn't exist. Okay, let's get rid of the sky. Let's bring color range up to the top here. And turn it back on. Put it under the object. Zoom in. That's better. Look at that. brush making a difference at this point, apart from just doing a little bit of the edges? Tiny bit of difference, but I think keeping that on makes sense. Okay, cool. So that's a little better. Let's do an add brush real quick. You got this spot down here that I really should. Now that's actually, take it back. That's part of the landscape. Never mind. That's not grass. That is that's mountain. Okay, let's get rid of this. Let's add this though. Come on, Lightroom. There we go. Doing great. Let's brush this grass all in there so it's all part of the same thing. Excellent. Turn the overlay off. Actually gives a nice little patch of light there that I really don't hate. And darken up the rest of it though. That's pretty nice actually. Genuinely, I kind of like that. Okay, so this photo looks better now. Let's come back down here. Let's see. We could again pull the vibrance down. That looks smoother than it was. But I'm happy. I'm happy with how this looks. Let's give it 3 stars. Let's do a duplicate. Let's see what it looks like in black and white, and then I want to do a crazy color version because Shelby Lynn asked me to. I don't think black and there's something to this in black and white. It's gonna need a little bit of color work. So let's do a second duplicate. And in this one, we're gonna go back to color. We're gonna put, which mask did we adjust the saturation on the sky one? I push that all the way up. This is a problem. By pushing this color all the way up, we start losing some of the detail in the mountains there. I don't want to lose that. Though, that is pretty trippy. Like, that is pretty psychedelic, and I don't, like, I can't hate all of it. I really do. There's a lot of that I like there. That is wild. Let's play with some color on this one a little bit. I bring our blues down a bit. Did we get that? No, that line is just basically gone. Let's bring those up. Let's have some fun with that. I'll brighten the purples as well. Let me. Let them stick out. Let's push the magentas. Saturation and brightness wise. Actually, no. Let's darken the magentas a little bit even. That'll brighten them, and by pushing up the saturation, it's already a darkening effect, and then by darkening them again, it gives us more separation here from the purple, which I think is great. Let's see. That's luminance. I want color. Orange and yellow. Let's bring those up a lot. Brighten the yellow just a little bit. We keep some of that divide. Let's do it. Let's recrop this. I think this one's better if I crop it down to about like that. And we look at it like that. And that looks cool. It's trippy as hell, but I really enjoy it. This one actually, I think I can crop to something like a 4x5. Yeah. There you go. That's a 4x5 sellable print. I love it. Looks amazing. Let's look at our black and white one. Needs a little bit of work in the color department, but not too much. Let's come down to color. Bring our blues down a bit. Bring our purples up as far as I can. Magentas. Until I start seeing lines. That looks good. Reds. A little bit of brightening, I think. Oranges. Bring them down a little bit, actually, I think makes a difference. Does make a difference. I think it looks good. And yellows, if we brighten them, makes a different kind of difference. And in this case, again, I think I'm going to crop this to a 4x5. Undo that. I'm going to bring this down first, like that, and then crop to a 4x5. Hit X to switch it to a vertical 4x5. that. Keeping it nice and centered. A little bit bigger with it. That looks cool. Looks pretty cool. There's the crazy color version, which is pretty cool. It's not my favorite, but it's pretty cool. But my favorite is definitely this one. Definitely the tall one with our really. I want to crop this down just a teeny bit more. Yeah, that's better. Much better. Yeah, I like that. I really, really like how that looks. Let me get back to my lower mask. Bring those blacks down a little bit more because I want those to be a little darker as a silhouette. But yeah, there's your Shenandoah sunset, and I love it. I'm really happy with it. It's a little. Let's see. You know what? I'm gonna go back to the sky. I'm gonna bring the saturation up to. I just put it back to where it was. Yeah, there's still enough nuance in that. Actually, I'm gonna take it to -10. Just bring it down a little bit, give it a little bit more of a dusky look. Bring the vibrance down a bit like that. There we go. I think that's a little better. Oh, let's also go back to the sky and finish denoise all the rest of the way up. So that'll smooth that out and give it a little bit of that. If I actually take the clarity down even a little bit more, yeah. If I go all the way down, we're gonna lose it. But a little bit more like that, yeah. Then again, I ask these questions of myself. Bits of adjusting of the fun part right at the very end. I'm actually pretty happy with that. I'm always happy with these things. So great, cool. All right, that one's done. It was. And then I said, all right, this is the second part of the drinking game. Take a shot. I just said it was done, and then it turns out I lied. I want to bring up some of these colors a little stronger in my own little way. Specific amounts that I control. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I really like that. Amazing. Okay, let's do. Let's take a break from Shenandoah and jump to a different national park. Oh, let's really quickly do a before and after. That'll be cool to see. So, boom. Before and after. Which, yeah. Shenandoah sunset. I'm not head over heels in love with the Blue Ridge Mountains, but sometimes, man, they look good. Okay, let's come up to, that's all Virginia stuff. Let's come up and do the New River Gorge, which is right here. So New River Gorge is where I spent last week. It's the newest national park, open in 2021. It's been a national river for years. I believe Obama designated it a national river, and then, but it was already nationally protected. It was already it already had. Let's see, where's the shot we're gonna work on? We're gonna work on a Fayette Station shot, and it's gonna be one of these. Might be this one. Yeah, it was already a national river. It was already a designated protected area, and then it's has since become a national park. So I got the chance to go and check it out. So this is the New River Gorge. This is the up at the north. It's shot from what is called Fayette Station. No, let's come up to here. I really like that one though. Ooh, that might be it. Yeah, I think that's the photo I want to start with. Okay. So New River Gorge this is the New River. Obviously, this is the New River Gorge Bridge, which is, I need to get my actual stats right, but it's in the top 5 on a whole bunch of things. It's one of the longest single span arch bridges in the world. It is one of the highest bridges in the world. It's got a whole lot of superlatives. The New River, and the New River itself, which is fascinating. This is in West Virginia, by the way, so we're in the Appalachians. And the New River runs south to north, which is really interesting. It starts in North Carolina, South Carolina, down in that area. Flows up through West Virginia over to, I believe it joins the Ohio River, and then eventually hits the Mississippi. It is also, again, we're talking top 5 oldest rivers in the world. This is, they're not sure of the exact age of it. The oldest river in the world is the Nile River, but the New River is somewhere between 2nd and 5th. This river is millions of years old, which is just wildly cool.
It is not aptly named.
Huh?
It is not aptly named.
It is not aptly named. And here's the thing. We're not entirely sure where the name New River comes from. That's one of the cool sort of questions about this, is we're not sure where the name comes from. It is possible it is called the New River because it is... Let me try cropping this so I get the to correct the angle of the bridge. And if that ends up looking horrendous, we won't do it. That looks comical. Nope. Back. Okay, we're gonna stick with this. We're gonna crop this to an 11 by 17. I can just crop it. Can do it to 4 by 5. That has something cool to it. I do kind of like that. Let's stick with this. Feels a little geometric. But yes. So the New River Gorge is. We're gonna bring the shadows up, which again, adding a little bit of noise, not too much. This was shot at ISO 400, which is great. Clarity, actually, before I bring the shadows up, clarity will definitely help. Dehazing, I'm going to do separately, and texturing, I'm also going to do separately because I want to texture certain areas and not others. All right, let's do first things first. Get me this guy. Anyway, so the New River Gorge, or the New River, they're not entirely sure why it's called the New River. There are many theories. Here we go. Let's bring the highlights down in the sky. Start getting some. There we go. Start getting some detail in there, which will match. I don't want to go all the way down. I don't want to lose the brightness. So I might just brighten it up with the whites. There we go. So my camera sensor is still pretty clean. That makes me happy. So yeah, New River Gorge. Or the New River itself is. That's a bit much. Let's leave that alone. Texture up or down. Texture up looks like that. Texture down looks like that. Texture up, I think, a little bit. And then we will denoise. So New River, not sure where it gets the name. One of the theories is that it is a mistranslation of a French word, because a lot of this area was colonized by French fur trappers and so on. So there's that theory. Ooh, chromatic aberrations shown up in this photo. Don't like it. Back to this. With that lens, that makes sense. Let's come down and adjust that real quick. Lens corrections, chromatic aberrations, and enabling profile control. Better, much better. That's so much better. By the way, if you're wondering what chromatic aberrations are, this is a really good example, because you'll see me click that a bunch of times. If you look at the top of the bridge here, when I turn remove off, so we see them, you'll notice I get this green edge kind of on the edge of the bridge. And that is just, it's a color aberration. It has something to do with the way the sensor got the photo, so we can remove that, and that makes things better. Cool. All right, back into our sky. Let's take a look at that. Again, not a whole lot of noise. A little bit of noise in the dark spots. Not something I'm super worried about. I can bring the sharpness down if I want to. I'm tempted to. We'll see if I need to. Let's do this. I'm gonna bring the blacks down. I want to keep that brightness, put the shadows back up. I like having detail in the sky. I also don't want to darken the sky too much. That actually really helped. Because I'm not trying to darken something that's bright or brighten something that's too dark. Apply some color. Don't really need to. Don't feel the need. Let's come down here to crank that noise reduction all the way up. That's not doing, shouldn't be doing too much damage. Let me turn that off real quick though. No, not doing any damage to that at all. Turn the sharpness down. You notice that's going to affect the edges of the bridge. Don't want that. Okay, so we're going to live with it. That looks good. Yeah, so New River could be a mistranslation of a French word, because a lot of this area was colonized by the French, or at least explored, wrong word. What's the word for exploring, but when white people do it? She's busy crafting. Yeah, I was asking what the word for exploring, but when white people do it.
That'd be colonization.
Now, colonization is the settling thing. I'm talking about the exploring. Like some of the fur trappers coming through here weren't necessarily looking to stake land. They were just looking to see what was out here.
Prospect.
Prospecting. Okay. All right. So prospecting. French people went out and prospected. Possibly put a name on this river, and then we mistranslated it to the New River. It's also possible it was just when people were mapping the area, and if this area had been mapped, and then someone else went back through to give it another look, and they found this river that other white people hadn't found, they were like, oh, I'll mark this as a new river so we can check it and see, because we haven't seen it before. Also, and then the name stuck. A whole bunch of possibilities, but yeah, that's where we don't know where the New River gets its name. What we know is the name is wrong. All right, new mask, color, luminance. I want to get the brights. I'm gonna get this off of that. I'm trying to just get the water here. I'm gonna have to do this with some linear gradients as well. I want to get the bright spots in the water. Something like that. I can reduce that, but that's not gonna make a difference. And if I do this, it's gonna start. It's actually not too bad. That's taken away from what I want. Okay. So we'll start like that, and then we will. That's a wild looking thumbnail up there. Can you see that? It looks like a bird. So we're gonna click this. We're gonna do intersect mask with a linear gradient. Now I can just kind of clean this up. There's a linear gradient there, like that. There we go. And we're gonna do the same thing. Intersect mask with another linear gradient. We'll do one over here. So that cleans, gets rid of most of that. Then we will subtract with a brush. We'll get rid of this. Do that super easily. Let's get rid of some of the darker spots on the tree line here. Let's see what I can do with that. Oh, let's get some rocks on the shoreline there that I don't want involved in this. Cool. So we're going to brighten that up. Going to come down here. I'm gonna bring the texture up on that. Not that I wasn't gonna do that anyway. Actually, I'm gonna do that in a different way. Never mind. Cool. So we've done that. Let's bring the clarity up. Get some brightness in there. That looks good. This photo might actually be better in black and white. But let's see. Dehaze. No, dehaze I don't want to do. I lose with the clarities. I lose some of the nuance there, and I kind of like having that nuance. With the shadows a bit. It's not that much. A little bit. I'm happy with that. I think it looks good. Let's desaturate it. I don't want to do this. Do I want to desaturate the whole river? I think I probably want to desaturate the whole river. Because I really like how the sky looks and I want to match that. So, actually, let's do this. Let's come to our sky. Let's push it a touch toward blue. Just a bit. Just like that. Just enough to give it something. Then we're going to do a new mask. That will be linear gradients. Let's do it as an object select. Let's try this again. New mask. Don't forget this. We're not doing linear gradient. We're off linear gradients. We're doing something new. New mask. Object. I'm going to try to get it to select the river this way. This may end up being a fool's errand. We shall see. We have to avoid certain spots. I'll default the coast. And come in and fill this whole area in. And then we're going to wait for a while. But sometimes this object selection's been really good with this kind of thing. And hopefully will give us a good starting point. So there we go. Got the whole thing selected. And time to let it detect. But let's see. So other interesting facts about the new river. So this is this is the new River Gorge. This is up in the north. There's four visitor centers in New River Gorge National Park. The top and bottom one, Canyon Rim and Sandstone, are both year round. The two in the middle, Grandview and Thurmond, are open seasonally. This is Canyon Rim. The Canyon Rim Visitor Center is kind of right up. So I can point with the mouse right up behind these trees here. Up, are we done? Okay, that's pretty good, honestly. Generally caught most of what I wanted to catch. I got a few spots to clean up, and I want to add this section here, but that's not bad. All right, let's add with a brush. Let's get started there. We're gonna add in here. We're gonna get this whole area. It's also interesting. I'm slowly determining the algorithm it uses to figure out what it wants when I tell it to do an object. I'm going to zoom in 33%. I'm going to come over here and we're going to fill this in slightly tediously, but I don't know. You're watching me stream this, so we are not editing. We are watching this happen in real time. Let's bring the feathering down. This is a little more of a. I've got some sharper edges I can play with here. Also, just got to get around this rock. But yeah, so this is up at Canyon Rim. We spent a good amount of time up here. It's at Canyon Rim. Technically, we were down on what's called the Fayette Station Road, which rode past a bunch of old mine camps. Because this whole area was another reason that it's kind of, people went to Yellowstone, and were immediately like, oh my God, Yellowstone is phenomenal. We're gonna stay here, or we're gonna save this and preserve it. New River, for the most part, didn't have a lot of people living here. This area was not particularly well known in general. It didn't I forget which First Nations tribes lived in the area, but one of them, I want to say Cherokee. Do not quote me. I may be wrong, but one of the First Nations tribes in the area described the New River Gorge as the land of the swift water, which basically was basically a way of saying, they knew the area, but also there was no point. Nobody really. It was not a good place to live because there was, the land was a gorge, so you're not gonna have a whole lot of spots for you can't. There's not a spot for agriculture. You don't have a lot of wildlife coming through here to be hunted. New River really didn't get a whole lot of notice until until people started finding coal here. Subtract brush, and when people started finding coal, all of a sudden the New River became popular. Had a rail line that came through here that went through Thurmond, and for a while was one of the most profitable enterprises in the country. And the let's get rid of the rocks on this side as well. One of the most profitable enterprises in the country. You had dozens, if not hundreds, of little coal towns popped up along the river. In fact, between the time that they said the railroad was going to come through and the time that the railroad actually did come through, there were coal and mining camps and mining towns already set up along the edge before the railroad even got here, so that when the train came through, they were already ready to start loading up coal. We are in Appalachia. Coal is going to be a very big part of the economy. And so the New River became a hugely influential spot during the coal boom. When stuff like the Depression started hitting, I gotta zoom in more actually to get some of these things. When the Depression hit and we started losing coal camps and people went off to fight in World War I, another reason that coal started losing laborers, a lot of these coal camps shut down. Eventually the railroad shut down and the New River became kind of as pseudo-inhabited as it once was until it became a national park, or until it started being federally protected. So this is down, we're on the Fayette Station Bridge. We are near the town of Fayetteville. So Fayette Station was one of the spots along the rail line, and is now just this cool little bridge you can come down and get this view from, which is great. Okay, cool, so we got the river, which I can now work to desaturate. All the way, just a bit. We can desaturate. I'm going to push it toward blue. Push it a little bit toward blue just in general, and then I'm going to go to the other one that we did that was just the water, just the bright parts of the water. I'm going to push them toward blue as well, which is really not effective. What is going on? Is that overexposed? No. Is it just because we brightened it up? If I push the saturation, there we go, that's a little bluer. Okay, cool. So I'm going to push the saturation up and then bring the blues back. Try to find a balance with the sky that gives it that nice. There we go. That looks good. I'm also going to bring the highlights up just a little bit more, which is kind of a lie, but I don't care. I'm not overexposed, and I can live with that. All right, good. That's looking cool. Let's work on. Let's do a. We're gonna take a shot, duplicate and invert. Actually, hang on, I'm doing that on the wrong one. No, delete this mask. It was never here. This mask, which is our river. We're gonna do a. Now we're gonna do the duplicate and invert that we can all take a shot for. So duplicate and invert, and then we're gonna do a. We're going to get the subtract brush out, and we're gonna clean up this. Get rid of all this stuff down here. All the little spots that I missed. Nice. Go to our add brush. I'm going to clean up this one spot that I also missed. We're just going to add it in. Make a nice little ring there. Let's fix that. There we go. That's better. Alright, and then we're going to subtract the sky. Just like that. Take a drink. I'm going to finish this. Raspberry lemonade. It's delicious. Okay. So now we have our bridge and our trees all around. Not very. I actually don't know what I want to do with this. Push the greens a little bit. That seems like a decent idea. Let's see. I'm going to play with clarity in a second. I want to dehaze this. Maybe a little bit, not like a very little bit, just a touch to give some crisper vibrance to that. Texture, I think, is a good idea. I don't want to do this. Let's do one more mask. Let's come to our sky mask and do a duplicate and invert. Take a shot. I bring this mask. Actually, doesn't matter. These masks are. And now I'm gonna bring the clarity up. Not that much. Bringing the clarity up will be the way to bring the texture up as well. Actually, texture might be the way to go. Just almost entirely. It's real vibrant in here and just a bit dark. That's okay. Alright, let's see. What do I want to do next? Let's go back to my sky. Bring the clarity down. Yeah, because my subject, having the clarity up that much, up the way where it was, I think was a little distracting from the bridge and the reflection, which is kind of the main focus of this photo. So I want to bring the clarity down in the sky. I want to bring the brightness up. So the first thing we see is the bridge. Come on, let's find that balance. There we go. Oh, that's looking pretty good. That is starting to come together really, really nicely, actually. Let's come back down to here. We're ready to push the texture. I'm gonna pull the clarity a bit up. Maybe a bit. No, I don't. I want to leave it where it is. I'm really happy with that. Let's come down and play with color. I'm actually really happy with how this is coming along. Let's come down to color. Let's see. Yellows in the trees. They're fine. Oranges. Oranges are my river rocks. Let's definitely turn them up. Let's brighten them as well, so they stand out. Because I like having that shoreline. Let's bring up my blues. Down a bit like that, and then brightness wise, let's bring them up. Like that. Yeah, that's interesting. This is coming together quite nicely. Okay. Where's my water here? I want to bring the saturation down just a touch. Not that much. Just to match the sky. Let's go to 17. Great. That looks good. Alright, let's go back to color. Color here. Let's see. Now I can saturate the blues just a tiny bit more. Brighten my greens up, which will look great. Can saturate my greens a little more, which I think will also look great. Let me do it. There we go. Nice. Let's push my yellows a little bit toward green. Not that much, just a bit. Just to really lean into the lushness of the new river, because this place is vibrantly gorgeous. Greens go to yellow. No, we hate that. It's not fall. We love fall, but that's not fall. All right, let's see. This feeling right is interesting. I'm trying to sit here and recreate how it felt to be there. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how that one looks. Let's do a before and after real quick. Yeah, yep, that one looks good. I want to do a black and white version of this as well. But let's go ahead and set this to 3. Let's do our usual virtual copy. And let's go black and white. Genuine looks pretty good. I want to come down and play with some color a little bit. I want to push the blues, brighten them up a bit, because that will give us, again, makes that reflection stand out more. Pushing the texture up, I think, is a good idea. Come back down to color. Bring the yellows down a bit, I think, is a good idea, because I think it gives us that little bit extra. It gives it darkening this area again makes the bridge stand out a little bit more, just because we don't have because we don't have the color to help do that. River rocks are going to be brought down a little bit as well. Yeah, I'm happy with that. To start. I think this still needs a little bit of cropping. I set these both to 2 stars because I don't think I'm quite done with these. I want to give them another revision. But 2 stars is pretty good. Let's see. Let's come down and do one more of these. That I think will be this one. No, there's a couple good ones I got where I'm right down at the water's edge. No, we've been doing this for an hour and a half now. Let's put a pin in New River. Unless this photo is perfect, which it's not. We're gonna put a pin in New River. Come back to New River. We got some gorgeous shots of the water there that we're gonna have a lot of fun with. Push the whole thing toward blue eventually. Ooh, and that nice cloud right in the middle there. This one's getting 1 star. We're coming back to it. Let's go back to our library. I want to do one more photo, and we're gonna do an animal shot. So we're gonna come down to, or was just there, Maymount Wildlife. All right. Let's talk about some wildlife here. We got some Sika Deer. A lot of Sika Deer. We got goats, foxes, hawks, owls, vultures, more hawks, bald eagles, and bears. Got a good collection of animals here, and a buffalo who's hanging out behind the fence. Let's see. I want to come up here. I think I want to do one of the Sika Deer shots. I think that's where I want to be. Ooh. Oh, that's what that was. Cool. Thank you for following. I think it was a follow sound effect. I forgot I put the sound effect. That's a thing I did like years ago.
Very ominous sound for a new follower.
I know, right? I don't know. I thought it sounded bouncy. I'm a fan of it. Let's do one of these Sika Deer shots because they just look. This guy just looks so pretty and majestic in all the best ways. Let's find a good shot of him. Another one to look at. Let's develop it and take a peek. Yeah, something about that just calling to me. Let's work on this photo. That's 200% is a bit much there. Okay. So, the point. Our highlights are too hot. Bring them down. Clarity. Yes, I like having a lot of detail in this photo. I think that's great. Dehaze, not so much. Shadows up, just a bit. Let's adjust our crop. Not a whole lot to do on this one, other than just kind of do that. One thing I struggle with, or I think is a struggle with animal photos, and I think I struggle with this a little bit. Let's do it. Let's do a select subject. Hopefully this will grab him pretty easily from the background. Or I'll do an object selection. But perfect. See, you give it an animal, it does a great job. So let's see. With him, I want to bring his texture up, and then I want to do a duplicate and invert. Take a shot. Is there a spot we're missing here? Tiny bit. We're missing this thing. Tiny bit. Okay. Subtract. Brush. It's easy to think, like, you know, when we do animal portraiture, the temptation is like, oh, it's a cool animal. Let's just take a picture of the cool animal. And what you end up doing is the photo you're effectively taking is like the animal's school portrait. It doesn't tell you anything about the animal. It's not a photo that anyone really wants necessarily. Animals are gorgeous, and we should all like admire them as much as we can. But if you're looking to excel in animal photography and animal portraiture, my suggestion is your best bet is try to find shots of that personality. Think of the same way you take a portrait of a person. You know, nobody enjoys the portrait of the person where they're just sitting there smiling at the camera. You want to do stuff that is. You want to take photos that convey some personality. So that is what we're going to do here. It's going to pop out from the background a little bit. Let's put the saturation back. I'll do that down at the bottom. Let's bring the highlights down. Bring the whites down. No, let's leave the whites where they are. Back to the mask on our friend here. That texture's a little bit aggressive, but that's okay. There we go. Just absolutely gorgeous. And this shot is very much about just the positioning of our deer here. So. You know, normally I'd say crop out the stuff that we don't need, but actually keeping this way. So like, there's something about when you leave empty space in a photo. Some of that's breathing room. Like I wouldn't go any closer here because I like having a little bit of space on the edge there just so we can see. So that so there's a bit of a frame around the guy. But when you leave empty space like this, like that I don't immediately need, the difference, if you look at it like this and then, like that, just tells you look at the animal. This one to me connects him a little more to the landscape and is kind of the photographic equivalent of like leaving a sentence hanging. So, so if you did, if you have that, that kind of inflection of like, I'm going to, and you got to leave it hanging, there's the expectation of there's more here. And I like the idea of like, leaving a little bit of space above him because that's, the idea that his antlers are going to get bigger. Or the idea there's, what is he looking at over there? There's more to the world around him that we don't know, and I like having that as part of his photo. So let's go ahead. I want to bring up the oranges for sure. Bring out some of those colors in him. Bring the greens down a bit. What color is his back? If I take this, and I just click here and I slide that up. Magenta, okay. You think that's magenta? Okay. Well, let's bring some reds up. See purples? He's a little purple. Well, that's really interesting. There's reds and purples and magentas in him. That makes him so much more interesting. I love him. A little blue too. Oh, he's a beautiful boy. Excellent. Hey, Aqua gets to do stuff. It's shame in this photo I don't want it to. Of course, that's how it happens. The one time I get to have Aqua in my photo, and it's like, nope, it's just green. All right, nope, you want green instead, and I do. I want to do this. That looks really cool. Let's see. Oh, nope. Let's come back down here. Let me go back to my mask on him because I want to push the saturation on him. I want him to be, party deer. That's entirely too much, and we're gonna bring those colors down now. But I wanted to really make him more vibrant. So let's do that, and then we'll come down. And we will. That's cool, though. Okay, virtual copy. This is just this got unintentionally really cool, which is how this often happens. This again, animal portraiture is fascinating, and there's so many things you can do that you don't expect. Okay, so we're gonna take all these colors and we're gonna crank them up because now I want to lean into this. At least in this photo, oranges. Yep, those. Okay, cool. So we've now totally decked out this dude. Bring our greens down, and bring our aquas down, and then we're gonna go to our background, and we're gonna desaturate, and we're going to create a new mask, which with a brush. And I'm gonna come through here with all these bits that have color in them. I'm gonna desaturate them a second time to just have a photo that looks like this, which is. Yeah, this is how we should always be taking wildlife photography photos. This is incredible. One thing I want to do real quick is I want to, just because it's distracting, I want to see if I can do a spot heal and get rid of the tag in his ear. Just 'cause it's a little distracting, and it should be an easy fix. Boom. Yep, nice and easy. Let's do it over here, and then I'm going to fix this. Because this looks wild, and not in the way I want it to. So again, let's get rid of that. Done. Cool. Close. Excellent. Okay. So now, this guy. Push the oranges. I like having that color in it. We're gonna put the purples and magentas and stuff kind of on hold here. Keep the greens down, keep the aquas up, put the blues away. You know, let's come up to, you want to update this? Sure, go for it. I don't think that changed anything. All right, let's come back to here. You're going to update this as well. Quick update, doesn't change much. Okay. Let's come back down to our color sliders. I'm going to put them all back with the exception of the greens and aquas because I know what they're going to do. Yep, that's a good color for the background. Push the greens a tiny bit like that. Then go back to our friend up here. And push him a little more toward that beautiful yellow. That beautiful gold color that he is. Kind of a middle ground to give us a little bit of nuance. Excellent. Really love him. It looks good. I'm actually pretty happy with how that looks. I want to bring the, if I bring the shadow, I would have brought the shadows up on him. Let's bring the whites up a little bit. Nah, I'm happy. I'm happy with how he looks. It's a sort of unusual pose for him, but he's really cool. He gets 3 stars. As does this guy. This deer is insane. 3 stars. Oh, that's another thing I can do real quick with this one. Of course, you want to update stuff. Go for it. Update the subject. Alright, that's all good. Updated, and this one as well. Update, which we take 2 seconds. Let's do this. Let's bring the blacks down so we can really have him stick out. Our high contrast deer here. There we go. That's fun. Honestly, this one I do want to crop down. This one I want to come down to here. Come down like that, and then I'm gonna do this one's almost a graphic. I'm gonna do a linear gradient coming across like that, just across the bottom. We're just going to bring the blacks down on it, bring the shadows down, and the highlights down. No, that's the contrast. Shadows down, there we go. I need to lower the exposure, I do. Something like that. Make this, fade this out a little bit more. We go like this. Let's see. Texture down, clarity down. Exposure down just the teeniest bit more, like that. And then we're going to subtract our subject, which will, get his feet clear. And that gives us kind of this, parallelogram of light on him. Let's see, linear gradient. I can actually move up a little bit. Gives us a sort of parallelogram of light that cuts across him, and he's got black in both corners, which is cool. So nice. There's our super graphic deer, and then our more classically pretty deer. Let's see. A couple other interesting ones over here that I want to take a quick peek at. He said, question mark. Owl. Look at this barred owl. He was giving me the eye. Also this hawk who decided to yell at me. And give me that face. Absolute majestic creatures. Yep. These are some shots we'll come back to. Got a little fox face down here. I think we'd have some fun with that photo. And then if we come down here, we've Let's see, where's a good shot of this guy? We've got a bear that we're gonna do some photo editing with. If I bring the highlights down, automatically the shot is gonna get so much better. And shadows up. There he is. That's a bear. That's a great bear. We're gonna have some fun with this bear. 1 star. We're coming back to it, but for now, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and call it a day. Let me go back to our deer here real quick because I want to do the before and after. So, boom. This one's not as much. Again, when you're photographing living creatures, you don't often end up doing as much. You know, I said, and then we look at this, but like, you know how it goes. But yeah, my goal with my photography is always it's about connection and it's about experience, and it's about sharing with you not necessarily the exact replica of what happened. Actually, no, I'm looking at this real quick. Not necessarily the exact replica of what happened, but the new mask. I'm gonna do the same thing I did on the other one, just more subtly. Yeah, not so much the exact experience, but but like the feelings of being around these beautiful animals, and kind of the texture and clarity are going down. Let's bring the exposure down. It's actually twofold, so we're gonna go with a darker section like that we're also gonna desaturate. Not that much, and we're gonna pull this back like to about there. And then we're gonna do a new linear gradient that we're gonna come out to about here on the same angle. Feather it more, like this. Bring it down, and this is one of the ways that you can, in a photo like this, make sure that you're still subtly drawing attention to your subject. Great, and then I can bring this down, bring the exposure down a bit. Let's turn this off for a second. There we go, something like that. And we can turn this one back on. Come back to this. Bring that exposure back up a bit until it sort of hits where we want it to hit. There we go. Again, creating our little parallelogram. And then do a new mask. That will just be the opposite. And we'll use this to brighten up the area in between and to, again, sort of create a little bit of our graphic deer here. And again, this is all, you know, geared toward sharing the experience of just the awesome experience of getting to see these animals, getting to be with them, or see the Milky Way and getting to experience some of that. Like, it's really an awesome thing to be able to photograph and share. And so my goal with my photography is to not just show you the relationship that, you know, the earth has to the sky, or that the, you know, animals have to nature, or that, you know, they, like, animals have to the empty space above them, or whatever, but also to help, you know, you cultivate your relationship, or humans to nature with New River, to help you start cultivating your awesome relationship with the world. I can bring the highlights up. Shadows up a bit. Not making much of a difference, but it is making a difference, which is good. That's the wrong effect. No, put that back. That looks good. That's got a real graphic nature to it in a way that I really, really love and did not expect to love as much as I do. Excellent. That's amazing. Draws your eye to your subject. Really brings it in. Let's adjust that. Adjust this mask. Just the gradient. Pull that back a little further into the corner. And then let's do do one more. Let's do a quick little linear gradient up here because I want to darken up this area of leaves up there. So do this, put this right up there. Same deal, subtract the subject. And then down, a little bit desaturation. Yeah, yes, great. Cool, all right, beautiful. So yeah, no, just all, you know, we all have our relationships with the world and with nature, and I want to share this with you and to share the experience. And so, you know, leaning into a little bit of a graphic style in this photo gives you that kind of like, it hits you a little better and gives you a little bit more wonder. And to me it does. I'm looking at this photo and honestly I'm like, this is close, you know, this makes this deer look as awesome or as close to awesome as I can currently can provide to seeing this guy when I did, and that really hits me, and that is how I know I'm doing a good job with this photo. So yeah, thank you all so much for joining me on this. I'm gonna hit this button and bring me back to the main screen. Thank you all so much for joining me on this little journey. It has been a pleasure getting to share my photography with you. I will be doing more in the future as we go. If I can, I will probably do another stream later in the week, probably some video editing. We're all fans of that. And yeah, that's what we're gonna do from now on. We're gonna keep going through these, and keep checking in, asking questions, being part of this. It means so much to me. Such is the wrong word. So much. It means so much to me to be able to share this with you and to be able to welcome you into my artistic process. And I hope that you're enjoying it. And I hope that you're getting something from it. And I hope that it's, you know, if I'm on in the background, that's awesome too. So thank you so much. Keep making your art. Keep, you know, cultivating these awesome relationships with our world. And until next time, yeah, be safe, be well, and keep kicking ass. I'll see you then.